Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Law enforcement, immigration, legislation, you and me, we the people. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman with hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, and it all starts now. We've got a representative from the great state of Idaho with us. He says he's a legislator, not a House member. Kind of interesting because those folks at the House and the Senate, they're all federal. He works for the state of Idaho. His name is Dale Hawkins, and here's the interesting thing about him. He's the legislative district 2B is where he's representing. But I think he's kind of representing every one of us in the nation, I might add, right now, because he's telling some real truths. He called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, Sam, did you know about this bill we have in Idaho?" And he tells me about it. I said, "You know what? I didn't. That's interesting. Are you for the bill?" "Well, not really," I say. He says, "You know what? That's okay." I say, "We can talk about this thing. We don't have to agree on exact bill details, but we do want to talk about our massive illegal," I'm going to say that 2 more times, illegal immigration issue and the costs to the American people that requires. Representative Dale Hawkins, welcome to Liberty RoundTable Live, sir.
Well, thank you for having me, Sam.
Am I speaking out of turn? Did that kind of summarize the introduction and how we kind of met and what's going on?
Yeah, no, I think it was very accurate. We did have one of several bills. That was one of actually 8 bills that were presented.
Wow.
Through the legislature, most through the House and one through the Senate. I was part of a coalition of people that worked on these all summer long, trying to attack this, directly. And we had very little success in the years past, and we had even less maybe this year, other than we've brought a lot of awareness, and we're not done.
But let's be clear. The hot topic here is illegal immigration.
Absolutely.
The issue is that it's really expensive for we, the taxpayer, and Idaho wants to take this very, very seriously. So they started talking about, sheriffs working with 287G, and then there became a lot of pushback, and it gets very convoluted. But let's just talk about your kind of coalition. Let's kind of summarize some of the 8 bills, what happened in your legislative session first. Is that fair?
Yeah, that sounds fair. So this was a coalition of about 5 other legislators, as well as I'm a member of the Idaho Freedom Caucus, and we worked throughout the summer. We got some good counsel. We worked with immigration attorneys who have written legislation out of D.C. for Trump's previous presidency. We actually had an attorney that helped write the Remain in Mexico program working with us. We also worked with Heritage Action and Heritage Foundation, and we put these bills together. Just to give you a quick rundown, we had House Bill 660, which was an auditing bill. We wanted to audit arrested individuals. We wanted to get a count of how many people that were being booked in and processed that did not have proper immigration status. We wanted to audit the refugee resettlement program because we heard rumor that some of the funds from that were being shifted over to help with illegal immigration, and they're setting up their lives here in Idaho. We had an auditing of the hospitals bill. How many people are we treating? And we also had an audit for the schools. Now, mind you, we considered the auditing bills kind of low-hanging fruit. We didn't think we'd get the pushback. We did, but it seems like that the people, the larger lobby groups, the ag community, the dairy community, they don't want anybody to know how many are really here and what the accurate cost is in Idaho. We estimate between 40 and 70,000 illegal immigrants in Idaho. And we estimate, because we don't have the raw data, because we're being prevented from getting it, somewhere between $500 million, 900 million, somewhere in that range that it's costing Idaho taxpayers.
Wow, those numbers are gargantuan. You would think people would want to get a handle on what the real issues are. What you're saying in these bills is, hey, we want to know who, what, when, where, how, why to all this thing in terms of dollars and cents and people. And, it really translates to representing the taxpayer. It really translates to safety I'm going to say that again, safety for the American people. And you were trying to document that, and you were a little bit surprised at how much pushback you got, right?
No, absolutely. And that's the thing. I had some meetings with some of the law enforcement agencies, not the agencies, I guess, directly, but, the Sheriff's Association, the FOP, and there was even some other organizations. And we had some conversations, and they were just adamantly against these things. It was either too much work, too much time. All we did was get resistance. Of course, the school one was different. We just got resistance in committee, which was really unfortunate because this year I actually was made chairman of the House Education Committee, but the committee makeup is what it is. Just because you're chair doesn't mean you can push something through. And it died in our committee.
Wow.
Representative Steve Tanner, who was putting that forward, actually came back a little later in the session with a joint, with a resolution, a joint memorial asking. Basically, a joint memorial is where we send a letter to our federal delegates asking them to look into this and for them to start this. And that did make it all the way through. So we'll count that as a success. But the rest of them failed to even get out.
It's a one step forward, two steps back success a little bit, because they're basically knowing, hey, we'll send that up there, take a little bit of credit for the win. We know the Fed arm of things probably won't really focus on it for us too much either. Now, I pray they do. So the bottom line is, did anything pass then in terms of accountability and transparency here?
Not a one.
Wow.
Right. The concealing, the audit of the refugee resettlement we brought in through the Senate, through Senator Linney and Brian Linney, and that one failed to get a clear hearing. It was held. As well as those, we had three other bills, House Bill 764, which was a bill going after NGOs, the non-governmental agencies that were using grant money to shift people around the country and our state. The bill dealt with concealing, harboring, and transporting. Now, this bill didn't go after, illegals themselves, because that would be interdiction left up to the federal government. This bill was going after those, and you show up and you have a room full of attorneys, a room full of charitable organizations that are trying to claim that if they hand out a sandwich, they'll be in trouble, which was not true. It seems that with all the immigration bills, misinformation seems to be their best weapon. And in that bill,
why wouldn't they want transparency? I mean, we could use 287G. We could have the partnership with the federal government. Sheriffs could deal with the jails. They could honor the containers that are from ICE. They could take this out of the streets. They could take this out of the battle and let the American people be safe. I mean, that's what this is really about, is safety for the American people. And it's about making sure the American people aren't just paying for illegal activity. Should we just fire everybody midterms? I mean, what do we need to do?
Well, everybody, with reasonableness, most of the people who show up and argue these things are part of the bureaucracy. So, that's a firing if the will is in the executive branch, because as you know, they control that. Some of the opposition, like with the 287G, and I know that you and I have a disagreement on the principle of how it starts, but the program itself is virtually perfect.
Well, and we agree, by the way, with 287G, and because we believe sheriffs can sign up for it, they can sign up for parts of it, they can cooperate in any way they choose and see fit. And remember, the people can push their sheriffs to whatever stance we want them to. Remember, the people are the ones that elect the sheriff. So the sheriff should answer to the people. And we believe that autonomy by the sheriff, but then the American people backing the right view for the sheriff, or the right stance, is the wise cause, right? That's
no, absolutely. And again, even in this realm, the Idaho Sheriff's Association came out vehemently against 287G, and not by the principle that you and I disagree on, but by the program itself. They claimed that, in different interviews with different individuals, they claimed it would be the federalization and takeover of the sheriff's office. They claimed that it was an unfunded mandate that essentially was defund the police. I mean, the ridiculous allegations that were going around were just absolutely amazing. So our course for this summer moving forward will be to get the proper information out. And we hope to
Amen.
be able to utilize folks like you and Sheriff Mack, Sheriff Lamb, and others who actually have the facts on this program. They're readily available. And
Amen. We're going to do all we can to make that happen. Let's highlight a little bit because we've kind of mentioned our disagreement. Let's explain it to people, and then I'll let everybody know where I stand, and you can explain where you stand. Really, the most important thing, ladies and gentlemen, is for us to give you the information. You can decide where you stand on it, okay? Go ahead, sir.
yeah, so I think that here in our House Bill 659, what we did was through the legislature, this bill would have compelled the sheriff's offices, the sheriff, to make application. Look, if for any reason you can't do this, just tell the public why you can't move on. And that would be the only difference that you and I might have a difference on.
And I support the idea of telling the public why you will not, do something. The little bit of concern that I have is forcing the sheriff to fill something out or, I know your goal is to get him on record. I get it. But I don't think that we ought to use legislative agendas to force people to do things, because the point is that can backfire. At first, if you force them to do this, you force them to do that, you force them to, at some point, the question becomes, how much autonomy does an elected sheriff have to answer the people if we use legislative every time to control what he does? And the more we do that, the more we say, hey, the sheriff has to do the bidding of the legislative body. So that's where my concern comes from. Now, I don't have any problem with using the court of public opinion and demanding, hey, sheriff, we want an answer to this. And if enough of the American people in a sheriff's jurisdiction demand an answer, he will answer or face loss at the next election cycle. So there are ways to get it done. I think the court of public opinion, and a shame if you won't tell us why or you won't get aboard, is way better than a legislative force. That's the only difference we have, sir.
No, and I agree, and I do understand that is an issue, and we never know. Today's legislature in Idaho might not be tomorrow's, and I understand how that can be concerned and where does it stop. I think this came out of a desperation. This was already after we had introduced.
And by the way, I agree with that desperation. It's like, hey, we don't have any transparency or accountability. And it seems like the more we try to push for it, the more these people quadruple down against the truth. And then the real question is, we the people need to know about it and get these clowns out that are burying this thing, right?
No, that's absolutely correct. When I did meet with the sheriff from Boise County and the sheriff of Canyon County in my office, we discussed these things, and they let me know that they were against this and House Bill 660 at the time, and, asked if I would, defer from this. And I said, no, because even though that the Sheriff's Association and other associations were against this, I'm representing the folks. And this is like topic number one in the state of Idaho.
And I would love to see, by the way, a legislator and a sheriff in a given jurisdiction have a town hall with the people and discuss this blatantly and say, hey, I'm the legislator, and here's why I'm for it, because I believe this is transparency and accountability for the people. The sheriff's going to have to stand up and say why he's against it, and then the people should be able to ask questions and make up their own minds, sir. Imagine that.
No, that might be wonderful. I mean, we need to get the truth out there. We need to get the facts about the program out there, because right now those are being omitted from the public conversation, from those who are the sheriffs that are speaking out against. They're not speaking out against saying we don't want to be told what to do. They're speaking out against saying this is federalization of the sheriff's office. This is an unfunded mandate. Some sheriffs were claiming it would cost them $1 million. But what they didn't realize, or maybe they didn't care, we do have sheriffs that are doing this voluntarily now.
Well, my question is, if it's going to cost $1 million for that, why are we against finding out what it's going to cost on the other side of the equation, Sheriff?
Well, I agree with that statement. And yet at the same time, it doesn't cost the sheriff's office this amount of money.
I know it doesn't. I'm just saying, if we're going to do that, the first thing we're going to say is, well, what's the cost for the other side of the equation? Then the second thing we want to say is, show us those costs.
Correct. Because that's where this thing falls apart. We do have some sheriffs that are doing 287G. We even have some that are doing the task force model. They love the program, and especially since the big, beautiful bill There's extra funds in there. The cooperation and coordination with ICE is fantastic. Reimbursement is good. They have bonuses, vehicle stuff. I mean, actually, some offices are actually financially benefiting from being part of this program, and they're acting to keep the people and the folks in their area safe. That's what this is
Amen.
about.
It is about safety, but the reason you're saying some actually benefit is because there is a partnership. 287G doesn't just dump all the accountability and funding and cost on the sheriff. There's a partnership there based on 287G. The term we use in the law enforcement world for this is coordination. Representative, it's coordination to say, listen, we don't have to give our sovereignty or our control or our jurisdictional leadership away. The sheriff is the CLEO, the chief law enforcement officer in a county. And just because he partners with the federal government on immigration, because immigration has been delegated to the general government, specifically to Congress, and then carried out by the executive branch via Tom Holman and your sheriff, etc., hey, that doesn't mean that we're giving sovereignty away. It means that we agree that we can coordinate on this stuff. We can share some of the costs and the responsibilities. Dale Hawkins, ladies and gentlemen, Rep 2B Idaho, wants to basically have this transparency, have this accountability, have safety for the American people, find out what it's costing, and work together with this coordination to solve these problems. Hey, what's the cost to the American people? How do we deal with these massive immigration issues? And I think because it's an agricultural situation in Idaho, a lot of the agricultural farmers don't want accountability because, hey, they've already eked out a special privilege to not even pay minimum wage, right?
Absolutely. It's the I would call the ag and dairy industry the second largest lobby group in the state, aside from IACI, which is a conglomerate of Idaho and other states' businesses. And it's a shame, that there's this argument that somehow, because this is how they built their industry, that they should be able to maintain the right to break the law. That's what this boils down to, is maintaining the right to break the law. It is illegal to hire someone who is not here in the States or in Idaho legally, and yet they're clamoring for their ability to keep doing this. Our fear, and we tried to negotiate a path at the end of the session with a gentleman, Representative Pickett, who normally him and I are on the opposite ends with this situation. He negotiated in good faith between us and others, we actually did I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, we did kind of a carve out where it wouldn't even have allowed, this wasn't on 287G, this was on E-Verify, it would allow dairy and ag delayed into July of 2027 to even start the program on them. And yet at the end, what we found out is that they have a coalition with not just ag and dairy. Now they have, the Contractors Association, manufacturing, cannery plants, everything. They all want illegals now. And what we're going to see is what happened in California, what I watched 28 years ago happened in Nevada. We moved to Idaho in 1998. And I watched that over the years where, by the time we had moved, these illegal groups of folks and those using them had taken over almost every industry in the construction and everything else you could think of. And it's a shame to watch, and I don't want to see it happen to my home here in Idaho.
Well, and again, folks, we can put together, and I've actually written up a plan for this, and sadly I'm not, influential enough to make it stick, Representative, but I will say this. I wrote a justice/mercy immigration plan. And what it basically says is, hey, if you're a hardcore criminal, if you've raped and pillaged and plundered, if we can document that you came from another country or you're tied to a gang or you've committed criminal activity, we're going to throw the book at you, buddy. We're going to be hardcore justice, baby. But if you're in the country and you're not a criminal and you came here for a better life, you know what? I know Joe invited you, so it's pretty hard not to accept some of the blame here. We're not going to give you amnesty. We don't believe in that. Reagan failed when he did that. However, what we will do is we will give you an opportunity to surface. We're going to document you. You're going to surface and be documented. And your voluntary willingness to surface and show us that you're not a criminal is going to go a long way to your benefit. We are going to fine you for being in the country and getting benefits when everybody else has to pay taxes. So you will pay some fees. You will have some hoops to go through. Prove that you're employed, have your employer vouch for you, all kinds of things. And we will take each group because everybody belongs to a group. You're either a hardcore criminal, a gang member, whatever, or you're a person that just wants a better life. You're a person that's proven that you are willing to work and that you're honorable and that you want to be part of a civilized society. And we could put these people into groups, and then we could basically have this gradient, justice on one end, mercy on the other end, based on your situation. And we could solve this in 2 seconds if honorable people would stand up, sir.
I think I understand the plea there. We know that through the current Tom Homan program, the self-deportation, they were offering money to those who would come forward and deport, and as well as having a re-entrance ability. And of course, through that program, though, if you were found or caught and you didn't do self-deportation, your ability to re-enter the United States was curtailed for like ever, I think. I do think that there is a misnomer in the system. Ag itself has H-2A workers. They can do this. The reason we hear, and I know of people who use them, they hire them, they do them for sheep herding and different things in the ag community. They'll go out to check on things and they'll find out their guys are gone because they've been hijacked by another guy who's not using H-2A. The reason it's still going on is because H-2A is expensive for them. They have to pay for their transportation to and from country of origin and take care of them while they're here. So there's actually this thing where they prefer the illegal. And what nobody talks about is the dark underbelly of what's going on. There's sex trade, there's drug trade, there's constant sending money back to cartels, even from the good folks, because they had to pay to get here and they're going to be paying forever. So we're supporting.
And because they have no other real choice.
No, they can't complain. There's nowhere to go and file a complaint.
Representative Dale Hawkins with us, ladies and gentlemen. We've only got a couple of minutes left. I wish I had you on longer. What have I overlooked or not brought up that you really want to tell everyone?
Well, other than, this, we're not trying to be uncompassionate. We're trying to show concern for the people we represent, which are the citizens of the state of Idaho, as well as these programs we've talked about. We also had just a House Bill 700, which made it a misdemeanor statewide to hire illegals. We couldn't get that traction either. So it just seemed like everywhere we turned, there was opposition. We will spend the summer getting the people educated and letting their voice get louder, which we know it's already loud in these areas. We've also obtained a little help maybe from some of our friends in the networks in the federal system that want to help push through right stuff, not virtue.
Where do people go to keep up on this?
You can find, at Dale Hawkins on X. You can go to the state capitol website. All my other information is listed there. My phone number that I answer every day, even now that we're out of session. So very easy to access, both from those who love what we're doing and those who don't love it so much.
State of Idaho Representative Dale Hawkins, ladies and gentlemen. He represents District 2B in Idaho. And here's the deal. You got a roundtable going on of discussions on illegal immigration, on how to handle it, on whose side, who are you on. And we need the citizens to be able to have a seat at that table. Seems like special interest groups, illegals, everybody has a seat, but we, the people. Dale Hawkins wants to make sure we, the people, have a seat, and he's doing everything he possibly can to make that happen. Dale, thank you so much, my friend. We'll have you back soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sam, and you guys have a wonderful day.
Check that out, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine the people getting a seat at the table and having somebody to represent them. Dale Hawkins, everybody, Idaho. Is your rep like that? Call him and ask him, would you please? Because we need this happening all across this beautiful, best place in the world to live. Thanks for being alongside for the ride. I'm Sam Bushman. LibertyRoundTable.com, LibertyNewsRadio.com. We're available on Rumble and X and YouTube and everywhere. So just spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.